Oh, hello there. I'm Tara, and you're watching Knit Desserts. This is my first episode, if you could call it an episode. A lot of people use the term knitting podcast, but I don't have a real association with podcast and videos, so I think it's maybe more of a vlog. Anyhow, I don't have a fancy camera, I don't have a fancy setup or a microphone or anything like that, so we'll see if this is my first and only episode, or maybe if I like it I'll invest in some better equipment. But I have a lot of crafty projects going on and I would like to share them with the internet. So first of all, spinning. It was Tour de Fleece this month, which is spinning along with the Tour de France, and I didn't have a huge goal. I just had a little ball of fleece, 4 ounces of Coopworth, that I bought from the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival last year, so I decided why not now to try spinning that. And it's going pretty well. I'm making like a quite fine gauge spin, but I think it'll maybe be like a sport or DK when I apply it together. But I love this color. It is kind of mermaidy, has a lot of blue and greens and some purple accents, and there's even pops of orange and like a bronzy orange every once in a while. So yeah, I'll probably just make a pot holder type thing out of this, just to practice knitting with my hand spun and see how it goes. So I'm spinning on a Turkish drop spindle, and I've watched Soulful Spinning. Lisa has a very good tutorial on how she spins on a Turkish, so it makes this little turtle pattern on the top. That's really what sold me on this style of spindle. It's pretty good. It's portable. I can bring it from room to room, do it for 2 minutes at a time, and have only spun about half of this ball so far, so didn't really make it as far as I wanted in the Tour de Fleece, but it's going, so that's that one. Now what I'm wearing is probably my most recent finished object. This is the Cinna top by Life is Cozy Design, I believe, and I made it with Knit Picks Lindy chain, and I used swan and black. So these two, there you go. So this is a chainette yarn. So I hear a lot that linen yarn can be kind of inelastic or hard on the hands when you're knitting. I didn't find that to be the case with this. It, like, because of the chain, it has slightly more give. But I really like the finished result. It has a nice weight and drape. I actually meant to make it a little more cropped, like a high-waisted top, but you know, my stitch count was a little longer than I expected, and I figure this will be nice to tuck into skirts or high-waisted pants, and it's a great layering piece, so I really am enjoying it. Now it's knit side to side flat, and then you do a 3-needle bind off, and that was so satisfying. I mean, just like the seam is nice and stretchy, and you can kind of choose how deep your armhole is at the end. You don't have to decide halfway through. So one thing that I have a real pet peeve about is like saggy armholes, and this one I really like the depth of. And now, okay, maybe you can help me decide, because I still haven't decided. Should I put a pocket on this? I think I would like to spice it up a little, but the pocket, I don't know. Should I do like a neon contrast seam or something? Let me know in the comments if you would like to see that. Next finished object I have, well, see, since it's the first episode, I'm not really going chronologically, because you don't have any history of what I've been working on, so I'll just show some of my more recent makes. This was the Magnolia Bloom sweater that I knit in the spring, and I finished it just as it was getting pretty warm outside around Mother's Day weekend, so unfortunately I've only gotten to wear it once, but I'm looking forward to wearing it all throughout the fall and winter. Now, I did make some pretty significant gauge modifications to this, so I think I knit like 2XL or 3XL, which has 10 flower repeats, so a lot of the ones that you see have like the 8 repeats, and it's 3 in the front and then 2 on each side that kind of go over the shoulder. This one has a separate one on the front of the shoulder and the back of the shoulder, because I really liked this color of yarn, and I didn't want to add more strands of the Surrey alpaca that I used, and I think that would have toned down the hand-dyed yarn too much, so I just swatched a little bit and went from there. It miraculously turned out amazing, and yeah, I wasn't sure about the yoke depth with my gauge because of knitting it at a tighter gauge. A lot of I think the pattern has you split only like 1 row after the lace chart. I think I knitted an extra 2 or 3 rows, but for me it worked out fine. Again, I don't like a really deep armhole, so I knit this using a beautiful Surrey alpaca in this lovely dusty pink shade, which is by Lady Dye Yarns. It's 100% Surrey alpaca, fingering weight in the colorway Delacroix. It's from Montreal. I ordered it online, so I'll say it in a French accent. Along with this Fiber Story, this I actually used 2 colors. So the other color is this one. Hopefully you can see the difference. This is the more prominent color, or the one I used most, and then I only had 2 skeins of this and 2 of this, so I faded into this more multicolored ball toward the bottom of the body and the bottom of the arms. These are Fiber Story 100% superwash merino, and it is the color, the more pink color is called Bouquet, and the more multicolored is called Sweetly. And just together, I really love the combination. And then I think I'll take a page out of Jackie from Caddy Jack's Knits book and make a matching hood, because it's just a pullover, and I think that would be so nice to have like a hoodie option. I'll put it on real quick. So, oops. Again, don't have a great setup. Don't really know how to edit a video, so bear with me. It's hard to tell the front from the back, so I put a little bow in the back instead of a tag. Don't want to put this on for too long because it's so hot. But, look, super long sleeves. Love that. Nice, I like the length. I actually haven't blocked this yet because I wanted to make sure I wear it a few times in case I block it and it does stretch, because I know Surrey and superwash tend to kind of stretch when blocking. So I just wanted to make sure I wear it as is for a few times. But yeah, I finished this Mother's Day weekend when I was visiting my parents, and my mom actually had some magnolia blooms outside of her house, so that was really exciting, and they were the perfect color match for my sweater. Okay, it's getting hot already. Okay, other things I have knit. I did the Pearl Soho dumpling bag cal, and this is a cute little bag. Just the handles lay over one another, so you got a little wristlet. And I've been using this as a project bag for a knit project. But first, the yarn. This is actually a recycled sweater. It's a linen cotton blend, and I think it's like 8 ply, approximately Aran weight. So I knit, I think, a size needle up from what the pattern recommended because my yarn was slightly thicker. I really just knit until I liked the length and then did the straps. It's a very simple project. You just knit in the round, knit. And I found that it was, because it's a bag and you don't want it too gapey, and plus it's linen cotton yarn with not much stretch, it was kind of tough on my fingers to knit this because of the tight gauge. But if you're a new knitter, I think that's perfect, because I know when I started out, I was so anxious about losing stitches and everything was so tight. So yeah, I think it's a great project. And then the handles have a little kind of double knit edge so that they don't roll in. And I think that just gives it a nice touch. So there's that. Okay, what's inside this bag? Got a lot of whips right now, so I guess we'll move on to the whips section. Okay, so this is the Anticline mitt by Emily Green. And so the finished mitten will look like this, with a little folded over cuff, and then you can fold it over your fingers to make a full length mitten, but it would be open at the top. So it I think this will be super functional in the fall and winter. I love this like twisted cable-y pattern, but this is one of the most tedious things I've ever knit. I mean, the pattern is super easy to follow, but it's I think I cast this on like right after my Magnolia bloom, and spend 2 months and have one mitten 75% done. The other mitten I have about the cuff. I like to do, for like mittens and socks, I'll do 2 sets of DPNs, because then you can kind of knit the sections in tandem. So you don't, if you like made any modification, you don't forget what you did. So you can repeat it easily on the other side. And it just helps me avoid that second sock or second mitten syndrome. So these, kind of a long-term thing, but man, I love them. So very excited to have that for the fall. And it's nice to knit at this time of year when it's so hot, because it's not a big sweater in your lap, and I can kind of take it out on the town when I'm knitting in public. So, what else? Okay, next thing. I made this project bag from, I think it was like an old pajama shirt that I thrifted, and then a bag pattern that I found at a thrift store. I love thrifting, by the way. Probably most of the people who are watching this know me already, because I don't know how other people would find this, but I do love thrifting. I love reusing stuff if I can. So, but now what's inside the project bag is the daily pullover. This I have had in the plans in the works for over a year and a half maybe. So I found the Pearl Soho linen quill yarn. This is the salt and pepper color. And I had a period of time where I was obsessed with linen, because I think I just realized we call bed linens linens, but why are they never made out of linen? And then I did some research and found out, oh, linen is just really expensive, but it has so many beneficial properties. I guess it's pretty easy to grow if it's in the right climate, but so I would like to try growing some flax sometime. Maybe make my own linen, but it's very labor intensive, so that might be a long-term dream. And then I also love alpaca because it's so soft. So this yarn had linen and alpaca and wool in it, so a little bit of structure from the wool. So I liked that, and I bought some. And then I did a swatch for this sweater. I was a newer knitter, so I had never knit a full-size sweater at that point. And I thought, this gauge is just so airy, and I couldn't, like, so I researched on YouTube, and that's actually kind of how I found knitting podcasts, was looking up who has knit this sweater and what does it look like finished, because I can't imagine using a bigger needle size. So, anyhow, it does look fine. I think my gauge is actually maybe a stitch looser than the pattern gauge, and it's not see-through at all. So I'm kind of getting used to that, like, even if you can kind of see your skin through it, that doesn't mean it's see-through. But I think in general I do prefer a little bit of a tighter gauge. But this sweater, it's a V-neck, just plain V-neck. I just knit one skein until it ran out, and then I paused the body and I started one sleeve. So that's where I'm at right now. But I'm envisioning this as a really nice, like, fall layering piece, kind of a, with the preppy collared shirt underneath, kind of a back to school look. Not that I'm going back to school, but just evokes that excitement of like a new season and buying new school supplies. Always love that. So this is actually going quite fast, and I'm so proud. I'm getting to the point where I can kind of knit stockinette without looking for many stitches in a row. So yeah, maybe you could like bring this to the movie and see the Barbie movie and do some knitting. Very excited to have that. And then let's see, I think the last in progress thing I'll talk about is actually my first test knit. So this is a brioche pattern by Jen Lampin of Synaptic Stitches, and so here's my first swatch. I decided not to use these colors. I do love the combination, but I think it's too subtle for the wheat pattern. So the pattern is called the Levain, I think. I would assume it's French. I looked it up and it means leavening. So it has a wheat pattern, and so this is my first time doing any kind of like shaping in brioche. I've done a hat and I've done a headband, so I've kind of learned the basics. But I'm really liking the community aspect of the test knit. We have a Slack channel or thread, I don't know what you call it. So everyone is kind of updating everyone on their progress, and if they've got gauge, if they have questions about the pattern, or if they need input on whether the color is going to turn out or not. So I've actually chosen a different yarn, and I'm swatching with that right now. This is Knit Picks High Desert. This is, right now I'm using, I think it's Quail, which is a gray, and just the bare white, because I had some of this in my stash, but instead of the gray, I ordered a reddish orange Wildfire, so that's what I'll plan to use. But this yarn is so squishy, so soft. I think it's 100% American Shanico wool. Let's see if I have this. So High Desert, yeah, 100% USA grown Shanico wool. So I don't know how it's going to turn out after blocking, but right now with swatching, I think this is an excellent brioche yarn. It's so squishy, and I'm loving the fabric it creates. So I'll let you know how this test knit pans out. Yeah, I think I'm a pretty big pattern hacker. As like an engineer, I tend to like do my own math. I'll just use patterns as a jumping off point for inspiration, but then I will say, oh, here's the yarn I have and the yarn I want to use, and this is my gauge, so what size should I knit based on that gauge, smaller or larger, and I will add or remove stitches as necessary. So I think test knitting, I've been kind of averse to trying it because I know that I like to modify patterns a lot, but I wanted to try it out because I'm also very interested in overall design processes. So my job is process design for the food and beverage industry. So I just like to know how things work, and like I think it's really empowering to know how to modify things to make them what you like. So I hope I can inspire you to change patterns if you don't like how they are. Or if there's a feature that you don't like, then just do something different. It's not illegal. So I think that's all. I have several other works in progress, but they are not actively being worked on, and I don't want to make this super long, because I don't really know how it's gonna go. Next I will just talk about a couple of things that I have planned for fall knitting. So this beautiful yarn is the color Trippy from Lamb & Kid in Bainbridge Island. I was lucky enough to go to their store when I went on a trip to Seattle, and we stopped in Bainbridge Island on the way to Port Townsend for a swing dance event. I dragged my boyfriend to the store because Caddy Jacks made me do it. And oh man, I mean, everything there was so luscious. I wanted to buy it all. But this color just kept jumping out to me. It's so tonal and bright. This was my final decision. So I got one skein of Elmer fingering, which is 80% merino, 20% cashmere. And then this is Birdie, which is 74% alpaca, 26% silk. And I am going to hold these together. I think I will hold 2 strands of each, and I'm going to make the basset hat. So I think I saw a similar shaped hat on Pinterest, and I just searched Ravelry until I found a pattern that would suit this yarn. So that's gonna be in the works hopefully soon when I finish a couple of these other things. But I guess I'm really obsessed with this light purpley color right now. It kind of gives off similar vibes as the Magnolia bloom, and then I don't know, I think it's beautiful. But if you ever get the chance to go to Bainbridge Island, definitely check out the Lamb & Kid store. It's a beautiful store. They have so many nice samples inside, and then the people are very helpful but not overbearing, and they let me just check out every single yarn they had. And my boyfriend brought his guitar in and just strummed on it because I knew that I would be there for a while. So, and then they even gave him like a sparkling water beverage. So, they're very nice people. Well worth a visit. And then it's just a beautiful place to hang out. They have nice trees and water views. So, okay. So one thing, I guess I should have some goals for this vlog podcast thingy. I hope I don't have too much of a sweat stash. It's very hot here, and I don't have central air conditioning, so had to turn off my fan for the sound quality. But I think I would like to just improve my general presentation and speaking skills. I just noticed a lot of people repeat themselves over and over, say a lot of filler words, and I do that too. So I think I would like to just watch this back and see, like, how do I come across, and do I like it? And I know I am gonna cringe when I hear my voice, but maybe with time I'll get used to hearing my voice on film. So that's one of the goals. Other stuff that, like I've mentioned, empowering people to modify their own patterns, and also just sharing creativity, creative ideas. I don't know, doing unexpected things, using recycled yarns, using different yarn weights or color combinations than the pattern recommends, coming up with your own patterns and just going for it and using like whatever techniques you know to make up something. So let's see. Okay. I don't have notes for this, so obviously I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I have one last fall knitting plan to share. And this is, I guess, kind of what inspired me to get back into knitting. I learned how to knit back maybe in middle school, early high school, with my good friend Andrea. I think she had a family friend who taught us just basic knitted on, cast on, and the knit stitch, and also basic crochet. And then we just made squares and rectangles and scarves and little like hats with the cinched in tops. And so I obviously never got very far past that at the time, but coming back to knitting, I decided I wanted to make a perfect fall cardigan, or not even a cardigan, a nice fall sweater. I kind of live for the fall, and so I decided, well, okay, I don't know if I can knit it myself, but I could either commission someone to knit something for me, or I could try an easy project, and if I can do that, then I can work up to a sweater. So I decided to try making a hat. I did a 1x1 ribbed hat, which I just watched a YouTube video that had every single step, showed every single stitch of the cast on, how to, it was actually knit on flat needles and seamed. But I didn't know how to read the difference between a knit and a purl, so I would sit there and say knit, purl, and I had to start over several times because I kept messing it up. But eventually I figured it out, and then I did my first decreases ever, and when it all came together, I was so proud. I didn't think that I could do such a tedious thing, I guess, but if I can do it, you can do it. Maybe in a future video I'll show some of my very early projects. I don't have the hat that I made. That was in October 2021, I think. That's when I really deep dove into the knitting world. I had kind of taken up, dabbled in other fiber crafts. I've done sewing, embroidery, cross stitch. I have a macrame project kind of on hold at the moment. But I think knitting is so portable. That's what, you can just pick it up, do a few stitches or a row or a round, and put it down. So with something like sewing, you have to kind of like cut everything out, do a lot of ironing, pinning, sewing. So it's a lot of like back and forth using different tools, and I don't have a great setup for it. So I think that's one thing that's inhibited me from doing more of that, but I would like to do more sewing. Okay, so coming back around, I did finish that hat, and then I just slowly took up more and more complex projects. I made little tiny sweaters on double pointed needles because I was like, I'm not going to dive right into a human-sized sweater because that's too many stitches. Yeah, so I did little tiny sweaters. I did some like headbands and hats. And then I did a baby sweater. My friend had just had a baby, and I made a little cardigan, and that just flew off the needle. So then I decided maybe I can now commit to a full-size garment. As you see, I have knit a few of those now, full-size garments that fit me, and it's so pleasing to wear. It's something that you made. You just feel like you're wrapping yourself in a hug every time you wear it. So this fall I do want to tackle a classic fall sweater. So I have decided on the portage. This is kind of a, it's not a very recent pattern. I guess it's from 2014. But I love the look of it. It has these like deep pockets, and it has a honeycomb stitch on the back, and I'm going to make it with this kind of burnt orange color. This is Knit Picks Gloss DK in the color Masala, and this is 70% merino wool, 30% silk. So this will have a lot of drape, and it's super soft. So I'm really excited to wear this in the fall. I think, man, fall sweater of my dreams. So I'll probably make a fall sweater every year. I don't know, I have a lot of sweater plans and dreams, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So that is it for today, I think. If you'd like to know anything else about my knitting, I do pretty detailed notes on Ravelry. My username is Turgo McGee, and that's also my Instagram. So if you want to know like what needle size I used, what yarn I used, how much of that yarn I used, that's all in my project pages on Ravelry, and I'll link that below. And then yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll do one of these once I finish a couple more projects. And if you like this video, tell me to keep it up, and if you didn't, then don't say anything. Just don't watch them. So okay, have a nice day wherever you are in the world. Bye.